Do not attempt to repeat or reenact anything in this report. This video is strictly for education and entertainment purposes. Shock therapy to the gut. Submitted to erowid.org on January 2nd, 2013 by another emo kid. 400 milligrams of diphenhydramine ingested orally. As an introduction, I have been diagnosed with depression and show symptoms of ADD and bipolar disorder. I often feel unhappy with my life and, until recently, had a habit of self-injury. I had read about diphenhydramine a few times, and I thought it sounded interesting, so I figured I would try it. But I would just take about half of what other people were doing. So when my mum was out, and I was home alone, I went to the cabinet, hoping we still had some Benadryl. Luckily, we did. I knew I could not take too much, or someone might notice it went missing, so I took 8 25-milligram capsules. I knew what was going to come. I had read about it before. I was waiting for the visuals to come. I was very impatient, but at the same time, nervous. I was not sure why I was doing this, but I wanted it. I went outside into my backyard and sat on the swing set listening to my iPod for probably 30 minutes. Nothing was happening to me, aside from a lightheaded feeling. I was looking around and noticing things about my yard I had not before, intently trying to hallucinate. Nothing happened for a while, and then a brown bird flew in front of me. As it flew, it looked as though it turned into a butterfly, or maybe the other way around. I cannot remember too clearly. Then the ground seemed to pop like an optical illusion. I got excited that something was finally happening. After a couple of minutes, my mum got home, and the high had barely started. I watched her clean up the yard, and after she went into the garage, I walked inside. I knew I had to stay away from people, or else they would notice something was up, so I walked up to my room. It had been about 45 minutes since I took the pills. Nothing was happening again, so I decided I would get on the computer. I signed onto MySpace and started talking to a friend on Instant Messenger. It seemed like my body, mostly my head, was getting rapidly heavier. I was in this strange state where it took about 20 times more effort than usual to move. I started to write a blog entry on MySpace and noticed that I could not type correctly. I was mixing up the letters in every single word. I decided I had better get off the computer. At this point, words were becoming blurry. About an hour and 15 minutes in, I am guessing, I was lying on my bed, staring at the wall. I noticed something moving on my bookshelf. A shadow. It looked like a face, and it was moving as if it was talking, but I could not hear anything. The face disappeared, and what seemed like a minute later, I heard some girl whisper into my ear, something along the lines of, "How are you?" I strained to look behind me, where the sound had come from, but I did not see anything. I returned my head to its original position, staring at the wall. I noticed that the fur on the stuffed crab I have upside down on my dresser appeared to be moving, like an invisible kid was stroking it. My first reaction to this was to panic. I felt my heart skip a beat, and I got scared. But this was it. This was what I had been waiting that hour for. The stuffed crab continued to move, and eventually I saw black smoke coming from it. The smoke looked cool, I thought to myself. My perception of time was totally off by this point, and I do not remember what I saw in chronological order, except for the crab being first, and after the crab, my bottle of lotion seemed to be shaking, as if in an earthquake. At one point, I turned over, staring at my other wall. This one has 4 posters, 2 of Evanescence, the rock band, 1 of Death Note, an anime show, and 1 of Fruits Basket, another anime show. In one of the Evanescence posters, I thought I saw the singer falling out, like she was going to hit me, and then it looked normal again. Then In the other one, she started to shake her head at me as if to say, "You should not be doing this." At this, I panicked again. I had been so ready for this when I took the pills, but I still panicked anyway. Then the fruits basket one popped, like a bubble came out of it. It looked normal when I looked at it straight on, though. In the Death Note one, I saw the character's hand shake, like my entire body seemed to be doing, I noticed. I was in a state of complete exhaustion. Normally when I lie down, I get bored and feel urges to get up and do something. But my body was so dead here. It felt like dead weight. I kept seeing shadows by my door, like someone was walking by. I could not tell if it was my mum or my little brother, who was home by this time, or if I was hallucinating. At one point, it seemed to be wearing off enough that I could read. I think this was before the posters, but my memories are quite blurred, and there is no way I will ever be able to order them more than I have. I got up. When I walked, it felt like I was floating. I looked in my brother's room. He was sitting on the ground, playing with his Hot Wheels cars. I just looked at him and said, "Hi, Josh." He said hi back, and then I walked on to my mom's bathroom. I looked at Advil PM. We do not buy Tylenol, but I knew Tylenol PM has diphenhydramine in it, so I checked to see if Advil PM did as well. As I had guessed, it did. 25 milligrams. Hours, 2 maybe, into this, I took 25 milligrams more of diphenhydramine, combined with some amount of ibuprofen. I have been taking ibuprofen since I was a kid, and now need at least 2 Advils to even help a headache, so I figured the ibuprofen would not interfere with anything. I still do not know if it did or not. Walking back to my room, I looked into my brother's room again. He was sitting in the same spot as before, playing with his cars, but now my mum was with them. I looked at them, they looked back, and I went back into my room to lie down again. I saw multiple moving shadows in various places. I almost got used to them. The panicked state was over, but I still felt my heart racing. My mum, I think, came in twice while I was lying in my bed, hallucinating. I do not know if I was imagining her, or if she really did come in. She asked me if I was okay, and I said, yes. I am just really tired and trying to take a nap. I think this was before most of the hallucinations, because she turned the lights off and closed the window so I could sleep, and they all happened in the darker lighting. Eventually, I fell asleep somehow. I cannot remember anything after a certain point. I woke up at about 6:30 p.m., almost 4 hours after taking the pills. I got up and went downstairs. I was still lightheaded, but I was not hallucinating as far as I knew. I went to dinner, but did not eat. There were smoothies, so I drank mine and went upstairs. I got on the computer, checked my MySpace, and talked for a bit, then got off. It was hard, but not impossible, to read. When I was around my mum, she noted that I was quieter than usual that day. I was not arguing or anything. I just said that I was really tired. And she believed me. I was not lying. I just was not explaining why. Here is the weirdest part. I woke up the next morning, my body felt heavy, and I was not necessarily happy, but it was a normal morning. I got up and remembered that earlier my friend had said he did not recognize me the other day because I was not wearing black, so I jokingly made a point to wear black pants. The morning went normally. I had only 2 strips of bacon for breakfast. I stopped at Starbucks on the way to school and got a tall, double-shot, non-fat caramel macchiato, what I usually get. I went to my first final exam, geometry. I felt okay, but about 20 minutes in, I started to feel really sick, like I had to go to the bathroom really badly, worse than I had ever felt before. So I broke down and asked my teacher if I could go to the bathroom because I did not feel good. And he said sure. I had really bad diarrhea, and immediately I blamed it on the drugs from last night. I felt better after using the restroom and went back to class. My teacher asked if I was okay, so I nodded and went back to my test. I was fine for a total of maybe 2 minutes, then my face got hot. It felt as if a giant, massive sunburn was covering my face. I was starting to panic. This was not fun. 10 minutes later, I felt like I had to go to the bathroom again, but I did not dare ask. I rushed to finish my test. I only needed a 55% to keep my A in the class, so I was not even doing half the math. When I was done, I realized most of the other kids were only halfway through, so to avoid looking like I had rushed, I waited about 10 minutes. I then turned my test in and asked to see the nurse. At the nurse's office, I explained all of my symptoms. However, I did not mention I had overdosed on Benadryl the previous night. I was shaking really badly, felt nauseated, had head flashes, and had diarrhea. The nurse commented that it sounded like the flu and said she did not have anything. She asked if I wanted to lie down and rest for the half-hour break until my next final, but I said no. When I lay down waiting to talk to her, the chair looked like it grew a face. I told her I started hallucinating when I lay down. She shrugged it off, and I asked to call my mum. We decided to have me eat something and see what it did, but I was already doubtful. I just wanted this to stop, and I knew that flu methods would not work. I was not sick from a germ. I tried to choke down a bagel. It was dry, and I had a hard time swallowing. I could only bite off small bits at a time. After doing this with half, I gave up and threw it away. I got a drink from the drinking fountain, and then I saw some of my friends, the ones who do not experiment with drugs like I do. We talked, and I told them I felt like shit, and they said it was weird because another one of my friends was feeling the same way. I kept seeing my stoner friend Nate around the halls. We had cut class at break yesterday to go to the gas station with 3 other people, but he did not acknowledge me today, as far as I saw. I shrugged it off, since we do not talk incredibly often anyway, and then went to my next final drawing. I did not talk much. The flu feeling was still huge. By the time I got on the bus, my gut was feeling better, but I felt like someone was poking my hand with a needle. Nobody was. I also felt bugs crawling on my skin, but there were none. I got home and felt only mild symptoms now. It was not too bad after that noon mark. My overall experience with this drug is quite strange. I actually liked the hallucinations once I got past the panic point, and it was not too hard to cover up that I was drugged. The morning after effects felt like shock therapy to my guts. I do not think it is worth it, unless you have a free morning afterward, to deal with the sick feeling for a few hours. However, the drug is all I can think about, and even though I know it is not that great, and it is a really bad time right now, I just want more. Thank you for tuning in to this report. If you enjoyed what you listened to, feel free to like the video or subscribe to keep up to date and in the community.